first of all, will somebody please read this for me? Start with the first word.
Physicalization.
Wonderful. Is.
External manifestation of a character.
Fantastic. Somebody translate.
The way you make your actions be the character.
Fantastic. So the way you embody. Present yourself. Physicalization is physicalization. It's wonderful. So basically we're talking about physical traits, right? So when you look, when you hear, when you see, how does that look? So let's write down as a class, y'all shout out, some physical traits that make people different.
Color.
Alright, so look,
How do you walk?
walk, which luckily since we're coordinating this with these, walk is great. I'm sorry, what was that? Can't really see if someone's stupid necessarily, but we could see a facial expression that looks uninterested.
Height.
Some others.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into look. However, their posture. Posture's a great one. You will need a pen later, but not right now. Alright, so that's kind of getting. Think about the way that people move. For instance, here's a good one. Okay, everyone, put your stuff down for just a second. Everyone, please hold your hands out in front of you. That, however you feel. Alright, nobody move your hands. Look around at the difference in how everyone is holding their hands. Not one of you is holding them the same at all. Not even close. Right? Similar, but originally, what did you do originally? It was like this. Way down. Alright? And if you notice, when it comes, you can put them down now. People on stage, to the audience, when they see someone with open feet, open hands, kind of like they're very open to the world, very outgoing, very okay with sharing. People that are more like this, more private, you know? So the audience is going to notice those little things, maybe not consciously, but they will read them. So we can go with openness of limbs. Anything else that we can think of? Other physicalness. A laugh. Some people laugh with their whole body. Some people just kind of. Where do they laugh? A really great one. Tension. People that type all day tend to hold their shoulders back. Y'all all probably, maybe not, some of you are probably really relaxed, but almost everybody has a place where they hold tension. I hold it in this shoulder right here. See, lower back? That's going to affect the way you walk, the way you move, all of that stuff. Gestures. Everybody has gesture habits. Somebody points a lot. Somebody does this a lot. Some people make fists constantly. I played a character who always had her elbows at her side, all points in time. That's where she held the tension. Close together, right in here. So, maybe nervous habits, nail biting. Y'all think of any other ones? Breathing, that's a great one that wasn't mentioned last class. Have you all heard of leading points? Has anyone not heard of leading points? Okay, so we'll go through this. Somebody who thinks a lot, they make all their decisions based on logical thought process, probably going to lead with their head. People that kind of go with their gut instinct, you know, they're hungry, they're happy, they're sleepy, they're going to lead with their belly area. People that lead with their heart, always just, my emotions are on my sleeve. But they're going to lead with the area that kind of affects their decision making. What about how fluid or rigid is their movement? So these are just a few. You could go on to say, how does a person dance? Everybody dances different, but it's going to be specific to your character. Everyone has their own dance moves. We're going to do a little exercise. If I could have 2 volunteers, please. 1, 2. Sorry, they were front row. Y'all can be videotaped, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm going to ask you both, in a moment, not now, to fold those pieces of paper into a triangle that is as close to equal sides as you can get it. And your job as the audience is to watch them and watch for very small details and what's making them different. Y'all can go ahead and, as you notice them, shout them out. If you notice little things in, for instance, right now, what do you notice different about them? Feet, posture, what about head? Facial expression. So they haven't even really started moving. He's already making gestures, and so he's moving his fingers. And it's those little physicalities that are making them different already, and they haven't even started. So y'all go ahead and fold the paper. It's, believe me, you're not being graded on if you can do it. So when he coughs, he does this. When you cough, do you this or right? So your character is going to have the same kind of things. Anyone else noticing anything different? So the way they're using their hands, the way he's presenting it. Someone else might Vanna White. Facial expression. So speed of movement. And they haven't said a word. And y'all are noticing all of these things by the tiny little differences in their physicalization. Alright, y'all are good on that. Thank you very much for assisting me. Marvelous. Okay, so do we have any questions about this so far? Anyone want to add anything to the list? Great. Moving on. Let us.
Did you say gravy?
I did say gravy. I love gravy. Okay, so first I want to show y'all one of my favorite walks. I kind of talked about it earlier. So if you'll take a note of my stance normally, I'm sure y'all have seen me walking a few times since I've been here. My favorite character is an old lady. She had a leading point of her this area. She had tension here, and she had this kind of facial expression all the time. So those are just 3 things out of this whole list, but this is how she was. All the time. So, just a small example. That was one of my favorite old ladies, Mad Woman of Sheo, if y'all know the play. So here's the point though. Every person, every character has all of these, right? The difference is, how do they laugh? So when doing the next exercises, don't just put laugh. You want to put how. Is it a chuckle? Is it a full-bodied ho ho ho? Posture. Not, of course they have a posture. What is their posture? And does it depend on the mood they're in? Does it depend on the people they're with? Eye contact. It's another really strong one. They feel like their height or stature is above everyone. They must look down upon everyone. So, what we're going to be doing is correlating the 6 sections of your poem with individual physicalizations. So you're not going to use all of them. You'll be using 6 of them. If you want to use more power to you, because your character can only get better, right? So let's do some examples. How might someone's ancestry affect one of these areas? Give me an example.
Something wrong with your spine or something. They could all have a...
So if kind of they have like a spine thing in their family, then maybe their family... Remember, we always imitate our family. I mean, that's where we learned how to walk and talk, right? So if you have a really proper family history, as a lady, you might sit more like this. Whereas you come from kind of a whatever everything goes family, you're going to be a little, whatever, throw it around, let's have fun. Versus the proper rigid 90-degree angle type deal. Anyone else give an example of how ancestry could affect one of these? Nervous habits. Give me an example. Probably going to bite your nails. Exactly. Some other nervous habits. Tapping. Alright, it makes you nervous. I get terribly nervous when someone's sitting next to me in class. I can't pay attention to anything. Okay, so moving on. This one is really, to me, one of the easier ones. Animal. Give me an example of an animal that would affect one of these and how it would change it. So speed of walk. definitely, because you can have speed of movement, speed of walk. So give me an animal and talk about how that would affect their speed of walk. Okay, so
Versus fast.
move very fast, and that seems, a cheetah has very good movement too. It's not just fast, it's very controlled. I'm sorry? Fluid, exactly. Give me another animal. An elephant. How would an elephant walk?
Big fast.
Slow, but still very grounded,
Loud.
clumping perhaps. Alright, so you're not just gonna say, my animal is a cat. You would say, my character walks stealth-like, or my character walks very lazily. I mean, there are certain cats that are frisky, and there are certain cats that are not so frisky. So just because it's a cat doesn't mean it's exactly what it's gonna be. Give me an example of how color can change. It's a little harder. One of those faces. Uh-huh. What about energy and brightness? If you have a very, so maybe a very yellow character, a very orange character is going to be more open. That's a good one. Anything else? Maybe a red character kind of takes presence when they walk in the room. A light blue maybe kind of fades in the back. They do. Okay, so that one is a little more difficult. With that one, I think more about energy and brightness and presence. I feel like a color is really going to tell you how much they blend versus how much they stand out. Non-animal nature. Give me some examples.
Trees and stuff.
Okay, so how would a tree show up in your character?
It'd be stiff, very rigid.
Stiff and rigid, very planted, so grounding. Some characters can be up in the sky, they're very wind-like, like that, whereas a tree character might be more connected to their walk. Anything else? What about a river?
Be really easygoing.
Easygoing, very fluid. And we want to think about those little habits that make people different. The little ways, like how do they point? How does someone who's a water versus someone who's a stone, how would that affect the way that they point at things? Maybe a stone is this, whereas a water is kind of like this over here. Height and stature. Someone give me an example of that. Posture, definitely. Tension. And what kind of tension would you see from someone who is maybe really tall? And I know that it might seem silly when you're in a classroom to exaggerate this much, but when you're on stage, it reads very well. So the bigger it is, the more it's going to get out to the audience, right? So definitely tension for that one. I feel like eye contact goes really well with height and stature. Like I said earlier, do you look down on people? Maybe you feel small, even though you're tall, but they feel small, so they don't look anybody in the eyes, ever. There are plenty of people that go through this life, and they never look one person in the eyes, ever. It's not good for businesses, but it's possible. I don't know how they do it, but they do. What about walk and movement? So that seems pretty simple, but when you go and look at your writing, how is that actually affecting your characters walking on stage? How do they walk differently from you? So just because it's walk and movement doesn't mean it's not affecting the gestures, right? Anything else? Can y'all think of an example from anywhere in there? It doesn't have to be.
How do you?
Maybe think of a
Maybe a
character. Good. Y'all think of any teachers, friends that have common stances. I know last class we had a girl that was standing up here and she was standing like this and they said, oh, that's her stance. Well, what is your character's stance? What is your character's movement? So each one, I'm going to have y'all take a moment and give you about 7 minutes. And you're going to write down for each section a specific physicality. You're not going to write look, walk, facial expression. You're going to write looks like they're smelling something bad all the time. Looks like they cannot stand up straight ever. Or looks like they're about to hurt themselves for standing up so straight. So don't just write one of these next to one of those. You need to be specific. Heavy breathing, very shallow breathing. Is the breathing visible? Or whenever they get panicky, okay, I'm panicking. Or maybe when they panic, they shut down. All right? It's those little things. So you need to be very specific. The more specific you are, the easier it's going to be for you to implement that with your character, okay? So everyone go ahead and take about 7 minutes. Brainstorm some ideas.